Hey, I'm Samantha.
And I'm Nicole, and you're listening to The Power of We.
Each week, we will share with you our crazy journey of sobriety and success as a mother-daughter.
Our past is complicated, but it has made for two fascinating lives.
We have healed together through love and strength, through mutual respect. We've created an unconditional bond.
Our goal is to empower you, the audience, to be the best you can be.
Together, we will share tips of motivation, mindful tools, and explore our guest journey so we can all win together.
You are listening to The Power of We.
Hey, boo-boo.
Hey, Sam. How you doing today?
Well, I'm not going to lie. It's been a shit show. I am so over this week. Can you believe after being out of my house for 2 months with black toxic mold, I'm freaking sick again?
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
Life is going so great. I have this amazing boyfriend who's moving in tomorrow. Yay.
Grateful.
And now I have to move out again. Can you believe that? So life is not always fucking easy.
I know. And work has been really stressful for me, and it's so new for me, but I was reading this statement from Elon Musk yesterday, and I really wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. I'm going to read it for everyone. He said, if you died tonight, your employer would advertise to fill your job role by the end of the month, but your loved ones, chosen family and friends, would miss you forever. Don't get too busy making a living that you forget to make a life.
Which is so important. I mean,
it literally gives me the chills because, last week when we had Tim's story, he was talking about, work-life balance. And, that's something that has really came hard to me because I want to work.
I know, and then you call me stressed out.
Yeah.
And that does not do me any good.
Yeah, so it's just, it's so important to remember that, we are here and, we have one life to live.
Yes.
So to be grateful and enjoy our life, not to get sad, but one of my really good friends passed away, and he was 21. He overdosed on drugs, and that really taught me that you only live once, and we are here. The human race is here to just be there for each other and be free and love each other.
And what do we say? We got this.
We got this.
Woo! We got this. We are so excited today. I'm so excited because I have this friend, Christine Devine, and she was friends with this girl, and I would watch her on TV, and she was so freaking hot, it would piss me off. I'm like, what is she doing? She looks so good. I want to be a weather girl. Anyway, we have this amazing Jillian Barberie on. She's a television host, sportscaster, radio personality, and actress. Jillian was co-host on Good Day LA. But not only that, she is a real person. She is sober, and she's going to talk about her journey, which is why we are here today. And I am so excited. Let's welcome Jillian Barberie.
It's so nice to see you guys, to hear you, and your introduction had tears in my eyes. The Elon Musk statement. So true.
Yeah.
And I would say not by the end of the month, by the end of the day, your employer would have. They were auditioning girls for my job in Dorothy's seat. I would be looking at the girl possibly taking my job. It was horrible.
Awful.
And I was in the throes of my alcoholism, and you were mentioning your friend, and I'm so sorry for that loss. 21.
Yeah, thank you.
There are so many times I should be dead. And yesterday I was reunited with one of my when you're an alcoholic and everything is just so high level, a fight becomes that you don't talk to the person for years or whatever.
Right.
And we were apart she did my style files. Her and I were close and best friends, and we ended up not talking forever. And for some reason, I just saw her on Instagram, followed her, and she wrote me, "Oh my God." And we were so tight. So we went to lunch yesterday with Dorothy Lucy and Lisa Breckenridge and Carlota, who was the
I saw that, by the way.
Thank you. I loved it. Was so wonderful. And, I said to her, we were all talking about, when did they notice I was an alcoholic? Dorothy never knew. My co-host on my podcast never knew, Liz. Lisa Breckenridge had no clue. And Carlota, I said, Carlota, you must have known because I was the closest to you. And I said, I remember one night it was raining and we were on the 101. And drunk Jillian, who had no business driving, decides, I'm going to take the lane. I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And it's raining and I'm going, 80 miles an hour. And she's like freaking out. And I said to her, I grew up in Canada. This is bullshit weather. Like I drove in snowstorms. This is a joke.
Right.
Drunk AF. And she said,
we
I
make
do
terrible
remember.
decisions when we're drinking. That's the problem. We make terrible decisions.
Yeah.
And the thing is that when we're drinking, we think we look freaking great. I own Elite Home Staging and I'm out networking with all these realtors and I think I look so sexy and hot. And meanwhile, I look like a disaster.
Yeah.
Right? And I come home and my kids are like, I'm like yelling at her, and I'm so annoyed with her, and I have no idea why I'm annoyed with her, and I like even smacked her arm, and it's like those are the times that the alcoholism takes over us, right? And that's the worst part. So I guess what I want to ask you is, when did you know you were an alcoholic?
It's just funny you say, when we think we look hot and things are happening. I'm just going to add this in. I went to the premiere of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because I'm really good friends with Deborah Tate. In fact, I have some of Sharon Tate's items here. I cherish. And Deb is a good friend of mine for 22 years. So, she was part of it. Everyone offers movies about Sharon. And I would always say to her, nope, not big enough. Nope. Like actresses, nope. It's too, and then when Quentin Tarantino proposed it to her, I'm like, yes, this is the time you move. And every day I would see new people added to the cast. So fast forward, her daughter Ariana lives downtown. I'm like, get your over here. We're at the premiere. I'm on the red carpet. I'm bald from chemo, but I have a fabulous wig. I go to J-Lo's. Cost me a fortune, but
but before you go on, I want to make sure you tell our listeners who have had cancer where to get wigs like that.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
But you can go back to that.
No, the first place is called the Wig Fairy. It's on La Brea. They're about $1,500. They're expensive. If you want cheap, you can get cheap. It's called Lovey's, I think. Lovey. It's on like Upper Cedar. I got really nice wigs from them for maybe $125. But I have a hair guy named Lorenzo, and he does Jennifer Lopez, and I know Jennifer. Mm-hmm. And he said, you should go to Jennifer's Girl. And I said, okay, well, where's that? New York. Her name's Helena. Fine. I call Helena. She's like, head measurements, the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, and because I hate doing the minutia. I'm like, just give me J-Lo's wig. She's like, I need to know your skin tone. I go, just whatever. She goes, I need a picture of you off the internet. I'm like, just give me the wig for $4,000. Okay.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm bald. I go to the premiere with Deb. It's a different kind of wig. So the ones from the Wig Fairies are good when your hair grows in a little bit and you can clip it.
Okay, that's good to know. That's important for the people to know.
Yeah, you've got to have a little hair. They have clips in them. J-Lo's is the kind that is super light and it's got mesh. So you cut the mesh and you're supposed to glue it and put your foundation. Well, I'm very lazy. And, I've always done my own makeup. I've always, not done my own hair, but for events, I hate doing my hair, but today I do. I can't afford dry bar anymore, so I do my own. Anyway.
That's great.
So
well, that's good.
I'm carpet, and I'm partaking. There's like booze over there. There's Leo DiCaprio. There's Brad Pitt. There's Al Pacino. There's right? Margot Robbie. And I think, so I say to Deb, we're on the red carpet, mind you. They're right beside us. So I say to Deb, let's do, and we're doing selfies, beep, bay, up. And I think I'm looking really cute. So the next morning, and I'm drunk because I'm not drunk, but I'm really buzzed. And so the bar is right there beside the red carpet. So we all go in, then you can have drinks during the movie, fine, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure everybody's drinking normally, but except me. And the next morning, and we go to the after party. Everything was fine. It was a really nice night. I get home. I don't know if Deb slept over. We got ready at my house. And then she did. Yes, she did. So I'm in my room. She's in her room. She's not an alcoholic, by the way. And I start looking at the pictures from the night before. And I'm like, I have to do a double take.
Right. Okay. That's when you really do a double take, is when you start looking back. And that's what's so important. It's like we don't really know. So was that the time like you really realized?
No. Oh, God, no. But my wig was way back here. And all you could see was black stubble and a blonde. So I wrote her a text and I was like, fuck you for not telling me. Like when you have black stubble growing in and then your wig is way back here, you look like an alien. But anyway, no, that was not the time. The time for me was when I was home, and I used to drink at home because I have kids and I just never wanted to be in the car with them. But you've got to think of emergencies and things like that. But anyway, I would go to a dinner and have 2 drinks, but then I'd come home and open a bottle of Rombauer Chardonnay. That was my go-to. And then it turned into 2 bottles. And one night I blacked out. And I blacked out, but I locked my door and I was having an imaginary fight. And I bring up the Manson people because I've gone to all the hearings, and I bring up Deb Tate. I've gone to all the Manson hearings, and I speak on behalf of the LaBiancas. So I have faced all the Manson murderers except for Charlie.
Wow.
And in my mind, I blacked out, but I remember just before thinking that I was in an argument with one of them.
Wow.
And apparently I had a fight, an imaginary fight in my room, and my kids got scared.
Yeah.
And they called their dad, who lives 10 hours away. Thank God, as my angel, my daughter called one of her best friends. And one of her best friends' mom happens to be one of my best friends and is an alcoholic. She's not, she's 3 years sober.
Yeah.
So my daughter taped my yelling, and my friend Shadeen saved me. She heard it. The next morning she came over that night. I don't know specifics. And I just remember her saying, say goodbye to your best friend. And I was like, which one? I have so many friends. And when you wake up and people are all mad at you and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
that's the worst.
The worst. Or you have
I
friends
hate
that placate it and they're like, oh, you were fine last night. Then you have the ones that were like, we need to talk.
Yeah.
Shadeen said to me, I'm coming over. And I'm like, what? She's coming over. So she sat me down when I was sober and she said that, say goodbye. And I said, she was the biggest drunk. Like her, I always looked at her, you have levels. You're like, oh, I'm not as bad as her. So everything's fine. No, I was worse than her. So she said, she taped it. She said, I'm not going to let you listen. It was horrific. You scared the fuck out of your kids. And your kids were crying. And I was like, what? And as soon as she said that it affected my kids in that way, I said, I'm done. Yeah. And I remember going to my son, who was 11 at the time, and I said to him, I apologized to both of them. And I said, I'm done. And my daughter said, okay, Mom, that's awesome. And I'm going to help you. And my son said, whatever, sure. And I said, okay, well, and I said, you can come smell my breath whenever you want. And then Dr. Drew, who's my friend, he's like, you don't say that. They have their own ways of figuring out. Mm-hmm. And you just have to be you and be committed and not do it.
Well, that's
yeah.
interesting because that's a very similar story that happened to me. So when I didn't just decide to become sober. My son said to me, if you don't get sober, I will never speak to you again. And he was serious. And he did not speak to me for almost a year.
Yeah.
And Nicole kind of spoke to me. And then when I got sober, they were using like crazy. And I had to go to college and find her in her using, getting sexually abused, and my son almost dying. And so it's very hard to be at that. But you listen, Jillian, you are such a light. Let's turn this around. You're such a light. You have so much to give. There's so many people out there that are watching today and want to know what is next for Jillian, because you've been through this roller coaster. Listen, I've been through the roller coaster, and now I'm back on top. I have a $4 million company. My daughter works for me. My son's my best friend. I'm killing it. So what is next for you, and what do you want to do?
Oh, that's such a great question. First of all, congratulations. I feel like wonderful for you and your family, and what a scary time to go through. And I think when your children, I ask my kids that, do you guys, they don't want to drink, and it's because of me. And I always ask them, like, okay, I try not to ask too many questions about their dad, because he was never really, into that. But, he's remarried with a baby. So I asked him, are you guys okay with that? Oh, yeah, okay. And I've met the wife. She's lovely. And so I work on myself. And, I've tried to uplift people on social media about breast cancer, I was really aggressive with that. I was like, chop them off and put whatever you got to do. Give me the most chemo you can. Take me to the brink of death and pull me back. But, you know, I had a lot hit me at the same time, and I was not sober. I went to very much like a Johnny Depp story where I was in my manager's office and they said, you owe, like at this point, it was the first time I found out what I owed to the IRS, and I collapsed. I didn't even collapse when I heard I had cancer. Keep in mind, I'm still drinking at this point. And not as much as I did because I was in chemo and it tasted for me like metal. Thank God. Yeah. Because if it didn't, I don't know what. Anyway, so I collapsed. I cried. I said, "Am I going to jail? I don't understand what happened. How did this happen?" Yeah. How do you tell me now that it's almost $1 million?
Right. That's crazy. Right.
Then with all the IRS penalties, it came to 1.2. So I had to sell everything. Yeah. I sold my house and most of my belongings. I kept some shoes for Ruby and some dresses. I didn't sell my Emmys. Everyone's like, "Did you sell your Emmy awards?" I'm like, no, that's one thing I would. But I did lose essentially everything. And I am, you know, I lost a lot of time drinking. I know you guys know how that feels. Yeah, you miss out on so much, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%.
You miss out. Yeah, and then I came out of cancer, and everybody was mostly doing internet stuff, and I used to do stuff that was fun for Southall. So now I'm hoping to collaborate. People love how I decorate, so they say, "Wow, you should do. Maybe you could be a designer." And that my girlfriend became a designer by osmosis, just people coming over. But I don't know. I mean, I get nervous, but I do need to work. And I told, you know, it's interesting how Hollywood works. I was very good friends with Kris Jenner. She threw my baby showers for me, and I introduced her to all of my friends. Mm-hmm. Well, I fell off in the sense that I was isolated. It was a narcissist and an empath and a drinker and and I lost contact with pretty much all of my friends. And now they won't even give me her email so I can contact her and say,
wow,
you know, yeah.
That's really tough. I'm so sorry to hear that.
I introduced her to, and they're like, "Yeah, no, I can't give." And I'm like,
but you know what, Jillian, maybe there's another path for you. So you're kind of wanting to go backwards, just like I did when I had to. I had a partner in my company that was very toxic. We had a toxic relationship, but I knew she needed to go on and I needed to go on. In the beginning of pandemic, what did I do? I was in $500,000 in debt with my company with her. And what did I do? I decided to bite the bullet. I bought the company. I bought her out. I had all that debt. I went in the middle of the pandemic, went to downtown LA with my friend, my best friend that's a realtor. I got the biggest warehouse I could find. I told my kids, "You're going to stay sober and you're going to come to work with me." I had no idea where this was going. And I just put one foot in front of the other and I kept going until I can get my vision. And I kept drawing out what I want. And I want Elite to be the #1 company. I want everyone to know that we are doing things to help. And so I guess what I'm hearing from you is you're so new in your sobriety. You're 9 months, right? Are you 9 months?
Well, actually, no, I'm going into 8. But
8 months.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
I mean, I remember when I was at 8 months, like, I couldn't even, like, really, like, do anything. I couldn't even focus on anything. My brain would go in, like, different waves of thought processes, and I just had to, like, get myself to meetings, and, like, it was just, like, getting out of bed, like, we say, like, one day at a time, because, like, at the end of the day, like, it was just a goal to get my head on the pillow and not use or drink.
100%. Yeah. And I was with my kids the other day, and somebody had just gave me this bracelet. Her name's Elisa Michelle, says "one day at a time" on it. Oh, I love and I just love it. And you know, she made a necklace with an arrow to move forward. So what you just said, she's got an arrow, she's got the breast cancer, she's got a high heel shoe on it, because I love fashion, sobriety. And you know, what you said about being new in sobriety and kind of, yeah, you're right. You mourn and you're like, well, but maybe it's something you've got to move forward into that's different. And that, you know, it's exciting, but it's also a little scary.
Yeah, of course.
It's
And
very exciting because I'm kidding here. I'm almost 3 years now. And if
oh,
you would tell me at 9 months, I would be sitting here talking to Jillian Barberie, who's going to be following in our footsteps. My daughter, I was going to save my daughter from dying, and my son was going to be sober. I'd be like, yeah, right. But I am so grateful for my journey. And that's, I guess, what I don't know. I'm here to tell you, be freaking grateful what you're
Yeah.
going through and that those people don't talk to you. So many people didn't talk to me either. They wanted to become me when I got divorced. That was part of my journey.
And,
I
like-
grew up in, I raised them in Calabasas. When I got divorced, my ex-husband's girl wanted to literally destroy me. And that's why that was one of the reasons I started the company. So what I'm saying is I think that right now you just got to take one step at a time, try and work your program and just be super clear. And then after a year, your life is going to open up if you stick to this and really believe that you're going to get to the next step. I can already see right now, you could be, I could see how I'm very visual. So you're very fashion forward, but you are Jillian Barberie. Like you can use your name, you can use your soul. You're smart. You're gorgeous. You have so much to give people, and people want to know. Trust me.
First of all, I can't believe like your mother-daughter. She look like sisters, but I had kids late. So I'm dealing with a 12-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl.
I remember that.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I did radio and I hadn't worked in 3 years because they syndicated it. And Dr. Drew and I were out of a job. So was Jonesy from the Sex Pistols. He worked there. And radio is very different than television. I found it a lot harder. I do like podcasting. And I was thinking of, because I'm Canadian, of doing, well, actually I'm European. That's a whole other story because I'm adopted, but I found my whole family. And I think, my birth mom drank a lot. And do you know how when you meet people, you know that they're your people? And by that, I mean they're alcoholics or pillars.
Yeah,
when
of
I
course.
first met my birth mom, first of all, I did the 23andMe and it came back 100% European. So when I hired a detective, found the family. They are a family. Like literally they gave me away and then they got married and had 2 daughters. So I have full sisters, but I met my birth mom and she would we'd go to dinner and we'd drink and she'd be like, tell me about her life. And I was so in love.
Right.
And I remember getting back to my house and she would sneak me, like in Canada, you get a jar. I'm going to say it's this big of Oxy or they give you 300. And I looked at the bottle, I go, is that for like, how long? That's like for the year? Because I'm thinking
crazy.
She goes, a year? It's for a month. And I said, there's 300. She goes, yeah, I take 10 a day. I go, what the
God.
But we would go to dinner and she would slip me them under the table she didn't want to do it in front of my sister. So she knew that her first daughter was her. And the other two grew up with it and they don't partake. Like they don't partake. And so I was adopted into a family that didn't drink really. My sister doesn't, my mom, my dad. So it's interesting. And then they're all artists. And my dad's side, my cousin, she's married to Donovan for 50 years and she has a son with Brian Jones of the Stones. And so I talked to his son. So it'd be my cousin's grandson. And he's a musician. He's amazing, Jules Jones. And so when I found all of this, I was able to sort of connect the dots that, okay, I'm Lithuanian, I'm Irish, that's my mom. She's a big drinker. And it made a lot of sense to me. She died in my arms. And I remember her last request, she told me on Christmas evening, it was a blizzard and we were in Canada and everyone was supposed to come, but they shut all the roads down coming into her place in Toronto. And so it's just me and her. And she said, tomorrow's the day. That would be Christmas Day. I go, that's great. I go, I hired a detective. I found all of you. I have Susie and Amy in my life. They're friendly with my sister I grew up with, the adopted sister. It's like crazy, right? I said, we are so lucky. We have the best story. And she did die. She wanted a glass of wine and I got it for her and a cigarette. But
That's,
You know,
yeah, it's
I
so
wish I was.
hard. The family part is so hard,
Yeah.
and,
I wish I was sober though. I wish. I mean, I remember drinking with her on her last night, and the funniest thing is that my favorite band is the Rolling Stones. I had no idea. My cousin had a son with Brian Jones. Her favorite band was the Stones.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew she was from Ireland. So when she was on her way out, I thought, well, I'll play Celtic music.
oh,
And I remember my sisters calling and saying, we can't make it there. And I said, it's okay. And I said, I'm playing Celtic music. And I go, what? She hates fucking Celtic music. Put on Neil Young or the Rolling Stones. And I was like, she hates Celtic music. My God, I've been playing it for hours. So I turned it off. She was, at that point, but, she wanted a glass of red wine as her last, and a cigarette. And I knew she was dying. And I remember the nurse saying, what? And I was like, I walk in the blizzard to get her this.
Yeah.
Like, this is it for her. Get her anything she wants. I don't care if she wants blow and hookers. Like, do it. It's her. She's dying. She's going to be dead tomorrow. And sure enough, it was 5 a.m. and I'm still drinking heavily. Not at 5 a.m. But I'm saying at that point in my life, I'm still I'm not really admitting it. But anyway, I reached over. I was like, I knew it. I just in my heart, I was like, she's gone. And she was still warm, so I didn't call anybody for a while because I felt I met her when I was 34, and I was like, yes, I've had 15 years with her. My birth sisters grew up with her. I didn't get a chance to. I didn't have her in my life, and she was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so hard. All that, negative, all the stuff that comes with drinking. It's super hard.
Oh,
but I mean,
Isn't it
Nicole.
better not-
Nicole's just graduating from LMU, and she went to school for journalism. So I thought we'd turn this a little bit because listen, we are talking about a lot of stuff, but I want people to know the amazing Jillian that I was watching on TV that was so sexy, that got into all the magazines, that was at every party. Like, I remember looking at you going, how cool. And she was a journalism major. Do you have any questions for her?
In school, and I just want to know, what was it like being on the top of your game in the news industry at the time?
Well, interestingly enough, I entered news when news was very women wore men's suits, and I was thrown into weather in Montreal, but I was like, I'll take any job. I didn't want to do the weather. And there were a few hundred of us auditioning, and then they narrowed it down to 6. Wow. And then we had to take all these meteorological courses, which I was just like, I'm going to fall asleep. But I was able to, after I think 2 months after I graduated, I was on the national show, and it was very scary for me because I really wasn't confident in weather patterns. And so I would get really bored, and I would say, because I loved Lisa Gibbons, I had to get up at 2:30 or 3 in the morning and scrape my car off of the snow and then drive into work and start on air at 5 because it was already 5 a.m. in like Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick and, all Nova Scotia, all the potato farmers were. And so I remember watching Entertainment Tonight, and now I know Lisa Gibbons, which is hysterical, but I was like, I want to be like her. So I would dress a little flashier, and maybe I'd wear a choker and then I would get called in, and they would, reprimand me, and they'd say, you're too flashy. And I said, well, they said, I'll never forget this. They go, think about the potato farmers that you're, giving this forecast to. And I was like, well, that's boring.
Yeah, that's awful. You're like, wait, what?
So I didn't want that. And so I sent a tape to Miami and LA, and it was all ups I had on air. So instead of me being all polished, it was all like where the camera would break.
That's so smart.
Actually,
that's really smart.
Yeah, think outside of the box. And it got me a job in Miami, and they were super flashy. So I was like, I fit in. I've met my people. Then I got a job a year later. I didn't have an agent then. And an agent came to Miami, and he was watching me on the news, and he's like, I'm going to rep her. And he said, what's your dream? I go, I want to go to LA. And I got to LA, and I found it to be, I was like, what the Miami's way more progressive. So I stopped wearing blazers. I got in so much shit for it. I started dressing like a woman. I got in so much shit for it. I'd get called in every fucking day.
And what would they say to you?
They'd say, what? what are you wearing? And I'd say Dolce & Gabbana, or I'd say H&M. And they go, no. Why? Like, no, that's not the way it's done. I was the first weather woman that was hired at KTTV in all their history from, I think, the 50s.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started getting a ton of fan letters from women. And then Tyra Banks called me, and she said, she was working at Oprah, and she said, you're single-handedly changing the way women in the news dress. And I'm like, I know, because I started seeing a little bit here and there. Or it was the early 2000s, and they were looking for weather women across, because we would get the trades, and they'd say she has to be Jillian Barberie like, and personality and the way she dresses, and we want the anchor man to be like Joey Tribbiani, which was from Friends.
Yeah.
So I realized that my persona was more of a sitcom character as opposed to a news person, which was fine with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would get called in on the daily. So then Oprah did a whole thing on how I, changed the way women, and they never fucking said a thing again. Nothing was said. They just let me be me. And then I got sitcoms, and I got movie roles, and I got so much from it. And
how does it feel telling your story right now? Listen to what you're saying, and I want you to bring that to today. How does it feel, and how can you take that and bring it forward?
You've changed the game for women everywhere.
Listen, come on,
crazy.
girl, you need to help us. Come on, get back. You're sober now. Start doing a lot of writing.
You've changed. You've changed the world.
It's like there's a lot more life ahead of you.
Well, thank you for saying that. Everyone's like, you should write a book, because I have a lot. I mean, from being adopted, I was molested. I've been divorced twice. I've paid alimony. What's it like to be going through menopause and cancer when your ex marries a model and has a baby? I have so much, and I'm a single mom. I've been raising those kids on my own. He just started paying alimony last year, and we've been separate. We've been divorced for almost 10.
Yeah,
and
that's some tough stuff that you're saying. I thought I had a lot, being divorced, starting my own company, raising them by myself, and my father dying. I was miserable. So I can totally understand what you're saying, and people are listening can totally understand. But it's so important that if there's anything that I'm, Lori always says, the universe is sending me something. I don't know why I keep saying this back to you, but I want you to see how amazing you are and how powerful you are. And I want you to, after this podcast, really sit and write your name on a piece of paper and write down all the positive things that you want to do and get out of your old story. Pick one thing you want to do and let us know. We'll frickin' back you. You're a great girl and you have so much to give. And I was there. I was there. I feel your pain because I was there so much. My kids weren't even talking to me. I couldn't even take care of them. So, it's so important that you get that.
Can I ask you, so my kids were 9 and 11 when I got cancer. And then obviously now 12 and 14, I just got sober 8 months ago. Mm-hmm. Wait.
Yes.
7, 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have my rock. My rock is Heather Locklear. We have the same personality. She's like, please don't ask me to be your sponsor. Because we love each other. And
right.
we want to have a friendship outside of this.
Yes,
right.
That's important.
Right?
Yes.
And the stories that we tell each other, oh God, it lifts me up and it moves me forward.
But it's important to have a sponsor that's outside of your best friend. And let 100%. Me tell you why. Because when I had my first sponsor, she was younger than me. She drove me absolutely nuts and I fired her. And then so we're on a meeting. It's pandemic, no joke. We're on a meeting and my son's I'm talking to him about his sobriety and his sponsor. He goes, Mom, you don't have a sponsor. I'm like, that's true. And what does he say? Nicole, he's like, you need to hire her.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, hire her? I don't even know who she is. And he goes, you'll find her. And what did I do? I did everything, and she's my sponsor today. And she's a life coach. She's an amazing human being. She's incredible. I will definitely give you her number because she is unbelievable. But it's so important to surround yourself with good people that you, besides your best friend, that are different than you, that are not in Hollywood, that are not in
100%.
whatever. I mean, my life's
I
changed. I'm basically dating a guy that worked on trucks. He was an
yeah,
electrical
yeah.
engineer, but he's so amazing, and he's moving in tomorrow. Oops, I said.
When you said that earlier, I was like, oh my God, like I don't want any man in my life again ever because of the trauma of being in.
Well, you're not supposed to date or anything for
In your
1
first
year.
year.
Yeah. No, I haven't had a date in 10 years, so I'm not going to start now. But I don't ever want to share my space. I have a little house in Calabasas. I'm so happy with my
Nice.
children, just my children and me. I don't want to go down that road. You know why? Because when you are in a toxic relationship, you give everything. So you give your beauty, your babies, your love, it's just too much. And they give nothing back. So you're drained. I was an empty shell. Then I got cancer. And I just want to surround myself with light and love. And let me tell you, the IRS wiping me out was probably one of the most devastating things that happened. But I'm praying that something good comes of it because I do need to work. So you're right. Like forgetting all that stuff. Great. I'm a game changer. What did it get me now? Nothing. It lost me everything. I have nothing. And
Have you heard that saying, let go and let God?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
that is it, right? So you cannot control anything, right, Nicole? Can you control anything?
I mean, you have to let go and let God. At the end of the day, you
Let
can try to control your reality, but
and you and I have the same personality.
And like alcoholics, like
tell.
our minds get us like, I don't know, like what you said. Like for me, it got me like overdosing on drugs like twice, 3 times maybe. Like it got me like, in really bad places, dark places. And like when you let go and let God, you kind of let God like flow through your life. So instead of like our thinking controlling and getting us in these like toxic relationships where I was like dating drug dealers and ending up on the streets and like, like God brings you to like where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely. I do say let go, let God. And I've been removed. I've always lived in the Valley. I hated Hollywood. I did marry a baseball player, but I lived in Miami at the time. And he played for the Marlins. Mm-hmm. He retired. And then the other one was a sniper, but he was home for the baby. Like I had a nanny. I took care of everybody. Yeah. And in my life now, I've manifested things and they've happened and I've manifested to move forward. And in doing so, this place I'm in is
amazing. That's so exciting. Incredible. I mean, it's so great to hear your story. It's when they said Jillian Barberie, I was like, Divine, remember this day? And she was like, oh yeah. And I knew you wouldn't recognize me or remember me because it was so many years ago, but I think it's very weird that how
wasted. I was probably so drunk. Like
probably both were.
Are you kidding? I was as drunk as you. I'm sure. We were both disasters.
I there are chunks of life, and I've got to tell you, the drugs that I'm on also for my cancer. So there's a thing called chemobrain, which I definitely have. But then I have to take a gabapentin because she knows I'm an addict. Yeah. And she said, we need to get you on something that, is not addictive and blah, blah, blah. Because I thought it was my bones. Like when breast cancer comes back, it'll go to your brain, your bones, or your liver normally, like 90% of the time. It can go anywhere. But I talk to a lot of women. And so we share. And it's on TikTok. Like, I'm like, hey, we have a little group and one of the women, it went to her brain. And I go, oh, are you okay? Do you get headaches? What do you need? Can I send you a gift card? Because everybody's across the country and stuff. And she goes, oh no, I have no headaches. I have no memory. And so I have a funny story really quickly. It was before Christmas. I was not drinking and definitely on my Letrozole, which is a hormone blocker for cancer. And my daughter really wanted Ugg boots. And so they were all sold out, the kind she wants. So, and I went to Australia. I didn't fly there, but you know what I mean? I ordered. Mm-hmm. So she gets back from her dad's. I always let him have holidays because they live with me 98% of the time. I feel it's important that he has them sometimes. So they're there for Easter. They'll go for a bit of the summer. They'll go for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And people go, oh my God, don't you want them at Christmas? I like being alone sometimes because I have them all the time. So anyway, they come back from their dad's and I go, Ruby, have I got a surprise for you? And I give her the box and she opens it. their UGG boots, and she looks at my son, and he looks at her, and she looks at me, and she goes, "Is this a joke?" And I'm like, "What?" I thought, "What?" She goes, "Mom, you bought me these already." I go, "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." Rocco goes, "Mom, please tell me you're joking. You're scaring us." I'm like,
Oh, wow.
"The hell are you guys talking about?" And they go, "Mom, we were at Nordstrom's. We were with Molly. We walked through this. You bought that." I go, "You guys are lying to me." They're like, "Mom, you're scaring us." And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." She goes to her closet and pulls out the booth. I go, "Where'd those come from?" She's like,
"Oh my God."
So I have blocks of time, and I'm grateful to God that we can laugh about it, because they know it's not me.
Gratitude, that's the key.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun. I mean, you are an amazing human being.
More about your company, because that to me, like I'm blown away. I love that you started it, you bought it, your whole story fascinates me. Because,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've had this company for 14 years. I just bought my partner out during the beginning of pandemic. We are a $4 million company. I've run 5 trucks a day. I have like 27 employees. They go out and they stage and really help people have their dreams come true. Because what are we doing? We're helping people like you sell your house. And by the way, I think we staged your house.
Really?
You
Yeah.
did.
I knew it. I was like, I heard Jillian Barberie, and I'm like, damn it, is this weird? Okay, I just had the chills. Give me 5.
Can I just tell you,
it's just so crazy how life is. But
okay, so oh my gosh, this is crazy. The big house that I used to have, they got the staging company, and I'm like, please, everybody loves my house. They walk in, they're like, "This is the greatest house." He goes, "Yeah." The guy goes, "But I have a couple of ideas, and they're better with that than I am." I go, "Okay." So they take the big black ground and they put it, I'm like, "Ooh, now it looks like a library," right? Then I come to this house in Calabasas. So I had Tarzana and then Calabasas. So I go, "Oh my God, I love this." And so when I bought it, I kept a few things, and I had to go through and I said, "I'm going to buy this, the rug. I'm going to buy the kitchen chairs."
That's so funny. See that? We're interviewing her, and we staged the house that she bought. It's weird how life is.
I bought from Elite Stage. I was like, "Oh my God, wait a minute." So when Lori Muslove, who I love it, worked at Good Day LA, works with you, said that you own that Elite Stage. I'm like, wait a minute. Yes, crazy. You did. You staged this house.
That's crazy. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our journey. I mean, honestly, Jillian, reach out to us. We'll give you our numbers after we're live. Make sure you reach out to us. Come to a meeting with us. Do whatever. Yes. I mean, we're around, and it's important to reach out. That's
I want to say one thing about you guys. I love what you said about moving forward, because I think as an alcoholic, especially a fresh new one, we have a tendency to romanticize the past, or be like, "Yeah, I was that girl. It makes me sad," or you'll see other girls that try to look like you, and you're like, "Oh, it's depressing." But what you said about moving forward, like, I have so much more to offer now than I did when I was like,
exactly
34, right? And so thank you for reminding me. I do daily gratitudes. Good. I did today, and I do them every day, even when life is really coming at me hard. And so thank you for that reminder of moving forward. And it's just a blessing to meet you guys. You're amazing. And also the fact that your mother-daughter, like, that freaks me out, because I thought,
yeah. And we're both sober, isn't that? But we had some fun times. What did you want to ask her, Nicole?
I would love to hear your social media tags, so all of our followers they're probably already following you. But maybe...
and if you have any questions, honestly, Nicole, about this crazy business, which is wonderful and also has its weird sides.
Yeah, of course.
But good for you for graduating LMU, wonderful school.
Thank you.
Just keep going and think outside of the box. My social medias are all Ask Jillian or Jillian Barberie. And I really encourage you to ask me anything. I'll give Lori, she has my number. So if you want to talk to me privately, I can share a lot of things.
I'll definitely call you.
It's hard if you grow up here, because you're like, for me, a little girl in Canada, I was like, "Oh, I want to go to Hollywood." and I worked really hard to get here. And I remember
Right.
being laughed at in journalism school because they would go around and say, "What's your dream job? What do you want to be?" And I was like, "Oh, I want to be like with Regis and Kathy Lee. I want to be Kathy Lee." They laughed in my face.
Yeah.
I filled in for Kathy Lee.
Of course.
Amazing.
Of course.
I remember saying, "I want to go to Hollywood," and they were like, "This is a school in Canada, so Hollywood was so removed for me." No, so call me seriously. I'd love to
that's
talk
I
to you.
definitely will.
All right, you
Yeah.
want to talk about our sponsors? Our best sponsor ever?
We wanted to thank Elite Home Staging, who is just such an incredible company.
Who empowers women, who loves to help everyone in this planet.
And will help get your house sold.
That is for sure.
Can I just say, as a customer, oh my God, you guys are insanely talented. Like, it really makes a massive difference for a person to walk in and go, oh, I feel the vibe. I can live here. It's all about the vibe. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jillian,
Thank you
you're
so much for
amazing.
being
Thank you
here.
so much.